Rain slid down the glass walls of Manhattan General as if the whole city were crying ahead of time. Inside the top-floor delivery suite, bright surgical lights washed everything in harsh white, while the monitors around the bed beeped in fast, nervous rhythms. Emily Carter, 30 years old and 38 weeks pregnant with twins, tried to steady her breath as another contraction ripped through her body. Her fingers dug into the side rails, then searched for her little sister's hand like a lifeline. "Olivia," she whispered, voice thin, "promise me you'll stay with them, no matter what." Olivia's eyes were already wet. She squeezed Emily's hand so hard her knuckles turned white. "Don't talk like that. Lucas is on his way. The best doctors in Manhattan are here. You and the babies are going to be fine." The monitors spiked again. A nurse in light blue scrubs adjusted Emily's oxygen mask, her wrist flashing a hospital badge under the bright light. "Deep breaths, Mrs. Reed," she said gently. "Dr. Hayes is almost here." Across town, in a glass tower on Park Avenue, Lucas Reed stepped out of a boardroom that overlooked the Manhattan skyline like a private kingdom. The digital clock on the wall read 9:17 p.m. He checked his Rolex, checked his phone, saw 3 missed calls from the hospital, and exhaled in annoyance before finally tapping the screen. "Mr. Reed," the nurse's voice came through, tight and urgent. "Your wife is in active labor. There are complications. The doctor recommends you come now." Lucas glanced at the sleek conference table behind him, at the folder with numbers that could move the stock market in the morning. He looked at his reflection in the tinted glass, at the perfect suit, the perfect knot in his tie. Somewhere in the background, his head of communications, Vanessa Moore, watched him with raised brows, an unspoken question in her eyes. "I'm on my way," he said finally. "Keep her stable." He slid the phone into the inner pocket of his jacket, grabbed his coat, and walked toward the private elevator. Vanessa followed, matching his stride in quiet designer heels. "Is it time?" she asked softly. "It's happening," he answered, avoiding her gaze. "I have to show my face." Investors love a family man. In the underground parking, a black Mercedes S-Class waited with the engine running. The driver opened the back door. The city outside was slick with rain, the red and white lights of traffic streaking like veins of fire along the avenues. Lucas climbed in, phone already in his hand again, opening a draft email to his assistant about tomorrow's meeting. Back at the hospital, lightning flashed faintly behind the clouds, lighting up the window of Emily's delivery room. Her face was pale, lips dry, hair stuck to her forehead. The twins were in distress. The monitors shrilled, sharp and relentless. "We're losing the heart rate on baby A," someone called out. "Prep for an emergency C-section. Get Dr. Hayes here now." Olivia stumbled backward against the wall, clutching Emily's phone, its lock screen still showing a smiling photo of Lucas kissing her belly during a staged photo shoot at Central Park. A tear hit the glass, warping the image. The doors flew open, and Dr. Michael Hayes strode in, mask hanging at his neck, eyes immediately scanning the monitors. "We don't have time," he said. "We're going to surgery. Call anesthesia. Now." As the operating room doors slammed shut, no one knew that across Manhattan, Lucas was hesitating, and that single hesitation would soon be replayed worldwide, online. Emily Carter had once believed that love, even in a world as sharp and glittering as Manhattan, could stay warm if 2 people held on to it hard enough. Before the crisis, before the night her life unraveled, her days were marked by small hopes. She woke each morning in the glass penthouse overlooking the Upper East Side, sunlight spilling across the marble floors like a quiet promise. She would rest her hands on her growing belly, whispering to the twins, telling them that their father was brilliant and busy, but that he loved them deeply. She repeated it so often that she almost convinced herself it was true. Lucas Reed was not always distant. In the early years, before his company exploded into a billion-dollar empire, he used to bring Emily coffee from Starbucks every morning. He used to kiss her forehead before leaving for work, his fingertips still warm from holding hers through long nights of planning. But success had a way of reshaping him. Boardrooms replaced weekend walks. Investor calls replaced late-night conversations. Vanessa Moore replaced emotional honesty with a slick, polished version of attention that Emily could never compete with. Still, Emily tried. She arranged gentle dinners at home, even when she was exhausted. She reheated meals when Lucas texted that he'd be late. She pretended not to notice when the scent clinging to his suits was no longer his cologne but a perfume she didn't own. She let him place a Tiffany bracelet on her wrist, one anniversary, even though his eyes were already drifting toward his phone. Olivia often visited after her graduate classes, bringing books and laughter to the penthouse. She sensed the loneliness hiding behind her sister's polite smiles. One evening, she found Emily sitting on the sofa, hands cradling her belly, eyes fixed on the floor-to-ceiling windows that revealed the city glittering like a distant world she no longer belonged to. Emily admitted she hadn't felt Lucas's presence in weeks. Olivia urged her to speak up, but Emily shook her head. She didn't want to cause trouble for a man whose schedule was already bursting. At doctor appointments, Emily sat alone more often than not. Nurses recognized her face, not because she was the wife of a billionaire, but because she was the quiet woman who waited without complaint. She carried her iPhone loaded with notes about fetal movements, questions for the doctors, and screenshots of baby cribs she hoped Lucas would help her choose. But each night, when she asked if they could look at them together, he would answer, "Tomorrow, Em. Big day tomorrow." One afternoon, Emily arrived early for a specialized scan. She saw a man pushing his pregnant wife in a wheelchair, adjusting her blanket gently. The scene struck her like a soft blow. She wondered when Lucas had last touched her with that kind of care. She wondered when she had stopped expecting it. Later that evening, Lucas arrived home late, smelling faintly of a perfume she recognized from the gala photos. Emily asked if Vanessa would be joining him for another business trip. He scowled, accusing her of mistrust. The argument ended with Emily apologizing, though she wasn't sure why. She spent that night sitting by the nursery window, looking at unopened Amazon boxes filled with baby clothes she had chosen alone. She wished Lucas would sit beside her, touch her belly, and promise he was excited too. It was only beginning for her, but he didn't. And Emily felt something inside her begin to crumble quietly, invisibly foreshadowing a fracture that the whole world would soon witness. The office tower where Lucas Reed spent most of his life looked more like a monument than a workplace. 47 floors of steel and glass stabbed into the Manhattan sky, reflecting the late afternoon sun like a sword. Inside, everything was polished. The floors, the voices, even the lies. Emily had visited the tower only twice during the early months of their marriage. Back then, she felt proud walking beside him, her hand in his, stepping into a world she thought they shared. But as the years passed, the tower became a symbol of something she feared: his slow retreat from their marriage, and his growing attachment to the woman who lived inside his professional orbit. Vanessa Moore did not need to try hard to impress Lucas. She was brilliant, fast, sharp, and always ready with the right words. In the sleek conference room lined with floor-to-ceiling windows, the two of them would sit close, leaning over the same MacBook Pro, reviewing press strategies, event plans, and media launches. Vanessa knew exactly how to make him feel powerful. She touched his shoulder lightly when presenting ideas, laughed at jokes before he finished them, and spoke about legacy in a way that wrapped itself around his ego like silk. She also knew how to make Emily feel small without ever meeting her. Lucas often compared the two women without realizing it. "Vanessa handles pressure so well. Vanessa thinks we should do another gala. Vanessa says the board loves the new direction." Emily heard the name so many times that it began echoing inside her chest like an unwanted companion. One Friday evening, while Lucas and Vanessa worked late, a photographer captured them through the tinted window of a private lounge downtown. The lighting was low, the wine glasses half full, and Vanessa's hand rested on Lucas's forearm in a way that felt too familiar. The photo was blurry, but suggestive enough to make anyone question. It appeared briefly on a gossip page before being removed. Emily never saw it, at least not then, but Olivia did. She debated showing her sister, but worried it would only make her pregnancy harder. Meanwhile, Emily spent that same evening folding tiny baby clothes in the nursery, humming softly, feeling the twins roll beneath her ribs. She paused to catch her breath, smiling as one of the babies kicked. She imagined Lucas walking into the room, resting his hands on her belly, telling her that everything would be okay, that they were still the team they used to be. but the penthouse remained quiet, except for the hum of the refrigerator and the city noise far below. At the office, a storm rolled in, clouds gathering over the skyline. Vanessa shifted closer to Lucas as thunder rumbled. "You know, you work too hard," she murmured. "Maybe you deserve someone who actually understands your world." He didn't pull away. Not then. The corporate pressure, the constant cameras, the endless chase for more, all of it fed the distance between Lucas and Emily until it became a canyon she couldn't cross. Vanessa filled every space Emily left empty. The meetings, the travel, the late-night strategy calls. There were days Lucas spoke more to Vanessa than to his own wife. One night, when Lucas came home past midnight, Emily sat awake waiting, a soft lamp beside her glowing against the dark penthouse windows. She asked gently, "Did you eat?" "I made something light." Lucas barely looked at her. "I grabbed something with Vanessa after the meeting." It was faster. The words cut deeper than he realized. Emily forced a smile, nodding, swallowing the ache building in her chest. She pressed a hand to her belly as one twin shifted. She whispered a quiet apology to them for the tension in the air. Down on Park Avenue, the rain began falling in thin silver lines, streaking across the glass towers like tears. The world outside glowed with neon and possibility, but inside Emily's heart, a darker truth was forming, one she wasn't ready to face. And far above the city, in an office where lights should have gone off hours earlier, Vanessa stepped even closer to Lucas, their silhouettes framed against the storm, hinting at a betrayal that would soon explode into the public eye. Emily's pregnancy had reached the stage where every step felt heavier, every breath tighter, every quiet moment more precious. Her doctor had already warned her weeks earlier. "Twin pregnancies can shift quickly, Mrs. Reed. You need support at home, real support." She nodded politely, pretending she had it, pretending Lucas was present, pretending the marriage still resembled something safe. But deep inside, Emily felt the growing weight of being alone in a life that looked perfect from the outside. The penthouse at night was always silent, except for the soft hum of the air system and the distant pulse of Manhattan traffic far below. Emily spent her evenings sitting beside the crib she had chosen, her hand resting on her belly as she whispered stories to her unborn children. She told them about Central Park in the fall, about snowflakes on Fifth Avenue, about picnics she dreamed of having once they arrived. She made promises she hoped she could keep, even if she had to keep them alone. The loneliness grew sharper during her hospital checkups. Nurses often asked where her husband was. Emily always smiled and said, "Busy week," even though the truth hurt more each time. She watched couples walk through the hallways hand in hand. She watched husbands carry bags, ask questions, stroke their wives' backs protectively. And each time, she swallowed the ache deep enough that no one would see it. One afternoon, after a difficult monitoring session, Emily stepped outside the hospital to wait for her driver. She leaned against a stone pillar for support, fighting dizziness. A car pulled up nearby, and she watched a man rush to help his pregnant wife out of the passenger seat, adjusting her scarf, guiding her as if she were the most precious thing in the world. Their laughter floated through the cold air. Emily turned away before her tears could fall. That night, when Lucas finally returned home past 9, she was warming soup on the stove. Her back ached, her feet swollen, but she wanted him to have something comforting the moment he walked through the door. When he entered, he didn't notice the effort. He tossed his coat over a chair, loosened his tie, and rubbed his temples. "Long day?" she asked softly. "Brutal," he muttered. "Vanessa and I had to redo the entire investor presentation. We barely got a break." Emily froze for a moment. He said, "we," more often now. He said Vanessa's name with ease, with familiarity, with a tone he once reserved for her. Emily carried the bowl to the table and said gently, "I thought maybe tomorrow you could come with me to my checkup. It's the last big one before the delivery." Lucas didn't even look up. "Tomorrow? Impossible. I've got that dinner with the board." She nodded slowly, trying to hide her disappointment. I get scared sometimes." "Emily," he said with a sigh, "you need to relax. Stress is bad for the babies." He didn't see the way her face fell. He didn't see how alone she felt standing 10 feet from her own husband. He didn't see her fingers curl slightly around the back of a chair just to hold herself together. Later, she sat in the nursery again, rubbing her belly while the twins shifted beneath her skin. She whispered, "I know he loves you. Maybe he's just overwhelmed." But her voice trembled because the lie felt heavier each time she told it. In the dim glow of the nightlight, Emily felt a quiet fear growing inside her, one she couldn't ignore anymore. Something was wrong. Something in her body, something in her marriage, something in the way the world around her was tilting faster than she could steady herself. And as she closed her eyes, trying to calm her heartbeat, she didn't yet know that the danger wasn't just emotional or medical. It was already moving toward her, quietly tightening its grip, preparing for the moment when everything inside her life would shatter at once. The night before the delivery was supposed to be calm, a gentle pause before Emily welcomed her twins into the world. But nothing about her life had been gentle for a long time. The winter air outside the hospital windows carried a quiet tension, and even the soft lights of Midtown seemed dimmer than usual. Emily had been admitted for early monitoring after her blood pressure spiked again. Olivia stayed by her side, pacing the room with worry etched across her face. Lucas, however, was nowhere near the hospital. He was at the Ritz-Carlton, standing beneath a chandelier of sparkling crystal, preparing to deliver a speech at one of the biggest fundraising galas of his career. The ballroom buzzed with wealthy donors, executives, and photographers. Vanessa hovered beside him, brushing a piece of lint off his jacket sleeve with the kind of familiarity that once belonged to Emily alone. "Try to smile," Vanessa whispered. "Tonight could secure the entire next quarter." Lucas forced a smile, but his eyes flicked to his phone. There were 2 missed calls from Olivia. He ignored them, slipping the phone back into his pocket before stepping onto the red carpet. Cameras flashed in rapid bursts. He lifted his chin, confident, polished, untouchable, completely unaware of the storm building miles away. At the hospital, Emily lay on her left side as a nurse checked her vitals. Her breath hitched each time the contraction monitor tightened. "We might have to move sooner than planned," the nurse said gently. "Your numbers are climbing again." Emily nodded, fighting panic. "Please call my husband." "We've tried twice," the nurse replied. "We'll keep trying." Olivia squeezed her sister's hand. "I'll call again," she said, stepping into the hallway with trembling hands. She called, texted, called again. Voicemail. She stared at the phone screen, her stomach sinking. Back at the gala, Lucas took the stage. Warm applause filled the ballroom. Vanessa watched from the sidelines, pride glowing in her eyes. Lucas began speaking about innovation, healthcare partnerships, and the importance of supporting families, words that tasted like ash compared to the reality Emily was living. Meanwhile, the contractions grew stronger. Emily gripped the bed rails, whispering prayers, begging the twins to hold on just a little longer. Nurses hurried in and out, the room filled with movement and urgency. Olivia returned, pale and furious. "Still nothing," she said. Emily swallowed hard. "Maybe he's just finishing his speech. He'll come." But even as she said it, her voice cracked. She knew the truth. 15 minutes later, Lucas stepped off the stage to applause and slipped into a private lounge with Vanessa. She handed him a glass of sparkling water. "You were perfect," she murmured. His phone buzzed again. Another call from the hospital. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. "Is that her?" Lucas hesitated. "It can wait." Vanessa smiled, looping her arm through his. "Then let it wait." At that same moment, Emily's monitor alarms began to shriek. Doctors rushed in. The twins' heart rates were dropping. A nurse called out, "We need to prep for emergency C-section now." Olivia ran beside the gurney, tears streaming. "Emily, I'm right here." Emily gasped, trying to breathe through the fear. "Tell Lucas. I need him. Please." They burst through the double doors into the operating room, lights blinding, voices overlapping. Dr. Hayes arrived in seconds, pulling on gloves as he assessed the chaos. "We're losing time," he said. "Get anesthesia ready. Move." Emily felt the mask pressed against her face. The world blurred. Her last thought before slipping under was a desperate hope. "Please, God, let him come. Let me see his face. But Lucas wasn't there. He was raising another glass, another smile, another lie. And while Emily fought for her life, he remained miles away, unaware that his absence tonight would soon become the headline that shattered his empire. Emily drifted in and out of a darkness so heavy it felt like the ocean pressing down on her chest. Voices floated above her, urgent, overlapping, fading in and out like far-off echoes. She tried to reach for them, but her body would not move. It was as if she had been locked inside herself, trapped somewhere between pain and nothingness. When she finally surfaced enough to sense the world again, she felt cold air on her skin, the sharp scent of antiseptic, and the rhythmic beeping of machines surrounding her. She couldn't open her eyes. She couldn't lift her hand. She couldn't even whisper. All she could do was listen. A voice, Olivia's, cracked through the fog. "Emily, please. Can you hear me? Please come back to me." Then a soft sob, muffled into trembling hands. Emily tried to answer. She tried to squeeze her sister's fingers, but her body stayed frozen, as if she had been poured into concrete. Somewhere close by, a nurse spoke quietly to another. "She lost a lot of blood. Her pressure crashed twice. We stabilized the babies, but she's not responding." Then Dr. Hayes's deeper voice cut through the air, steady but weighted with concern. "She's fighting. Let's give her time. Keep the sedation light, and keep monitoring everything." But fighting felt impossible from where Emily drifted. She was suspended in a strange, empty place that was neither life nor death. She felt the tug of two worlds, one pulling her downward, one begging her to rise. She wanted to rise. She wanted to see her babies, but every time she tried to reach for consciousness, a wave of exhaustion dragged her back under. Hours blurred, maybe days. She wasn't sure. There were moments, just moments, when she recognized the gentle pressure of a hand wrapped around hers. Olivia. Loyal, steady Olivia, whispering stories, humming lullabies, reading lines from a book Emily once loved. Then came another voice, colder, detached. Lucas. She heard his shoes on the floor before anything else, confident steps, impatient pauses. His cologne filled the room, familiar yet foreign. Emily tried again to open her eyes, to let him know she was still inside her body. But nothing happened. He sighed heavily. "How long will this continue?" The word struck her like a blow. Dr. Hayes answered calmly, "We're doing everything we can, but she's not showing neurological responses." There was a pause, a long, painful pause. Then Lucas spoke again, voice lowered, but not enough to soften the edge. "I can't watch her suffer like this. There has to be a limit." Emily screamed inside her mind, "No, I'm here. Don't leave me." But her body betrayed her silence. Later, she heard Olivia shouting. Anger, heartbreak, desperation, all tangled together. "Don't you dare give up on her. She needs time. She needs us." But Lucas's response came cold and final. "This isn't about emotion. It's reality." Those words cut deeper than any scalpel ever could. Emily felt something inside her collapse, a small, fragile flame sputtering out. The next hours became heavier, darker. The machines continued humming, but she felt more distant from them, more distant from the world. The thought of her babies, tiny and new, flickered in her mind like a distant light she couldn't reach. Was she dying? Was she already gone? Somewhere deep within the darkness, something shifted, a fear she had never known. A fear of being erased, of being abandoned, of being silenced forever. She tried once more to move, to breathe, to cry, to do anything. Nothing, only the darkness. And just as she felt herself slipping further away, a chilling realization echoed through her fading consciousness. Someone had already made a decision about her fate. In the early hours of the morning, the hospital lights seemed harsher than usual, casting long, cold shadows across the hallway outside Emily's room. Dr. Michael Hayes stood beside the nurse's station, reviewing the latest scans, his jaw tight. The results troubled him. Something wasn't adding up. Emily's decline had been fast, too fast, and the pattern wasn't following the usual trajectory he saw in other brain injury cases. Inside the room, machines clicked steadily, unaware of the storm gathering outside the door. Emily lay motionless, her face pale, her breath shallow, her body still fighting in ways she could not understand. To the untrained eye, she looked gone. But to Dr. Hayes, the puzzle wasn't complete. He stepped inside, checking her pupils again, checking reflexes that remained heartbreakingly still. A nurse handed him the latest neurological report, her expression grave. "Doctor, the family is waiting for your evaluation." "Family," he repeated quietly. "You mean her sister?" The nurse hesitated. "Her husband is here too." Dr. Hayes exhaled slowly, as if bracing himself for a conversation he didn't want to have. In the consultation room, Lucas sat with stiff posture, arms crossed, impatience leaking like cold air. His designer coat hung perfectly from the chair beside him, untouched, as if he were at a business meeting instead of a life-altering moment. Olivia sat across from him, shaking, wiping tears that kept falling no matter how hard she tried to stop them. Dr. Hayes entered with the chart. "I've completed the neurological tests," he began. "Emily isn't showing brainstem reflexes. There's no eye response, no response to pain, no independent breathing effort. Based on protocol, she meets the criteria for brain death." Olivia gasped, folding over herself as if her body had been struck. No, she was just talking yesterday. She laughed with me about the babies' names. She can't just be gone." Dr. Hayes lowered his voice gently. "I'm so sorry. I truly am." Lucas leaned back, expression unreadable. "So that's it?" "That is the clinical determination," Dr. Hayes answered. There was no tremble in his voice, no devastation, no disbelief. Just acceptance, swift, too swift. Olivia stared at him in horror. "How can you say that so easily? She's your wife." But Lucas didn't look at her. He kept his gaze fixed on the table, jaw ticking. "What are the next steps, doctor?" "The hospital will ask about life support decisions," Dr. Hayes said, choosing his words carefully. "Most families take some time, but Lucas didn't need any time. If there's truly no chance, then prolonging this." He paused, frowning as if calculating. "It wouldn't be humane." Olivia shot to her feet. "Humane? She's still warm. Her heart is beating." "That's the machines," Lucas said flatly, "not her." Dr. Hayes watched the exchange with growing unease. There was something off, something cold and wrong about the way Lucas spoke, but he couldn't interfere. Legally, Lucas was the decision-maker. Within an hour, papers were prepared. Words like withdrawal of life support and comfort measures only were printed in black ink, clinical, final, irreversible. Olivia fought with everything she had. She blocked the hallway, begged nurses, cried until her voice cracked. But hospital policy was clear. The decision rested with the legal spouse. Lucas signed. His pen scratched the paper with a finality that made Olivia fall to her knees. He didn't look at the form once he finished. He simply closed the folder, stood up, and walked out of the room with a calmness that chilled everyone who witnessed it. Dr. Hayes remained still for a long moment, staring at the signed papers, as if they were a verdict he could not appeal. Something didn't sit right. Something deep in his gut whispered that this night wasn't over, that this story wasn't finished. And as Lucas stepped into the elevator, ready to return to his carefully curated life, the universe was already preparing a truth powerful enough to destroy every lie he had ever told. The hospital corridor felt like a hollow tunnel as Lucas walked away, his footsteps fading until only the humming machines remained. Olivia stood frozen beside Emily's bed, her palms pressed flat against the cold metal railing, trying to breathe through the kind of terror she had never known. Her sister was still warm, still breathing assisted, yes, but breathing. And yet the world had just declared her gone. A nurse whispered, "We'll begin preparing the room." But her voice trembled, as if she too questioned the decision. Olivia stepped forward, her voice breaking. "No, don't touch her. Not yet. Please, just not yet." The nurse hesitated, then quietly retreated. For several minutes, the room was silent except for the steady whoosh of the ventilator and the beeping of the monitor. Olivia sat on the edge of the bed and took Emily's hand gently into both of hers. She whispered, her voice shaking, "I know you're still in there. I can feel it. Please, fight." The machines continued their steady rhythm. indifferent to prayer. Then Dr. Hayes entered. He looked exhausted, his shoulders tense, his brow furrowed, eyes red from hours of strain, but there was something else in his expression too. Doubt. A heavy, stubborn doubt he couldn't ignore. He closed the door behind him. "Olivia, may I speak with you?" She wiped her face and nodded. He moved closer, lowering his voice. "I don't like how fast this happened. The decline, the conclusions. I've seen brain injuries that mimic death. It's rare, but it happens." He looked at Emily again, his gaze sharper now, searching. "There are small inconsistencies in the scans. Nothing I can present as evidence yet, but enough that I want more time." Olivia clutched Emily's hand tighter. "Then stop them, please. He already signed the papers." "I know." He exhaled. "But until we begin removing support, she is still under my care. And I have the authority to order more tests." Hope flashed across Olivia's face so quickly it nearly broke him. Without wasting another second, Dr. Hayes stepped to the ventilator panel. He checked the settings. He checked reflexes again. He flashed a penlight across Emily's eyes longer than protocol required. Nothing, but something inside him refused to believe this was the end. "Let's keep her stable," he ordered softly, "and delay the transition." As he left to gather a second assessment team, Olivia leaned close to Emily's ear. "Hear that? You have time. He's giving you time. So hold on." Minutes stretched into an hour. Night deepened outside, Manhattan glowing like a distant galaxy beyond the hospital windows. Nurses moved quietly in the hall, unsure what would happen next. Lucas had already left the building. His Mercedes taillights disappeared into the stormy streets below, taking his indifference with him. Inside the room, Dr. Hayes returned with new equipment. He connected sensors, adjusted settings, and measured every electrical signal he could. Nothing changed, but he refused to stop. At one point, he gently rested his hand on Emily's wrist. "Emily," he murmured, "if there's anything left inside you, anything at all, give me a sign, a flicker, a breath. Anything." The monitor beeped steadily, unchanged. Hours passed. Olivia dozed off in the chair, still gripping Emily's fingers. Nurses dimmed the lights. Just before dawn, during a routine check, a tiny tremor ran across one of Emily's fingertips. So small, it might have been dismissed as a glitch. But Dr. Hayes saw it. He froze, watched, waited. Then it happened again. Barely visible, barely measurable, but real. His breath caught. "Emily." "That's you." He leaned closer, heart hammering, watching the faint twitch repeat, subtle, fragile, undeniable. Something was shifting, something alive, something fighting its way back. And as the first rays of morning light slipped through the blinds, Dr. Hayes whispered the words that would soon rewrite everything. "She's responding." At first, no one dared to believe it. Not the nurse who caught the faint twitch, not Olivia who jolted awake with a gasp, and not even Dr. Hayes, though hope hit him so hard it nearly knocked the breath from his lungs. He leaned in, eyes locked on Emily's hand as it trembled for a third time. Then a fourth. Not random, not mechanical. Intentional. "Check the EEG again," he ordered. The nurse scrambled to adjust the sensors. The machine hummed, lights blinking, lines flickering across the screen in pale green traces. For several seconds, nothing changed. Then there it was. A blip. Small, weak, barely a whisper, but unmistakably human. Olivia covered her mouth, tears spilling. "Emily." "Oh my God, Em." Dr. Hayes's voice was steady but electric. "She's showing cortical activity. This isn't a reflex. This is brain function." The nurse stared at the monitor, stunned. But her husband signed the withdrawal papers." "I don't care who signed what," Dr. Hayes snapped, the gravity of the moment breaking through his usual calm. "She's alive. And until I say otherwise, nobody touches that ventilator." The nurse nodded quickly, already pulling up new charts. Outside the room, the hospital corridor buzzed quietly with early morning activity. But inside, the tension thickened with every new blip on the monitor. Olivia pressed her forehead gently against Emily's hand, sobbing with relief. "You hear that?" she whispered. "You came back. You came back, Em." But Dr. Hayes wasn't celebrating yet. He needed proof, documented, undeniable proof before anyone, especially Lucas, tried to challenge him. He reviewed the EEG readings again and again. Each time, the signals grew stronger. A soft knock came at the door. A young resident peeked in, breathless. "Doctor, I heard, did something change?" "Get a portable camera," Dr. Hayes instructed. "We're documenting everything." Within minutes, a small hospital camera was rolling, capturing every monitor reading, every flicker, every tiny movement Emily made. They filmed her hand twitching, her eyelids fluttering faintly, her heartbeat steadying. "This," Dr. Hayes murmured, "is the beginning." Words spread through the staff faster than anyone intended. Nurses exchanged whispers at the station. A respiratory therapist paused outside the doorway with wide eyes. Word even reached a physician in another department, who stepped in to witness what shouldn't have been possible. A patient declared brain dead was showing neurological return. Olivia glanced nervously at the hallway. "Do we need to call Lucas?" Dr. Hayes shook his head firmly. "Not yet. He made his decision. Now I'm making mine." For the next hour, Emily's responses grew clearer. Her fingers curled again. Her jaw shifted slightly. Her eyelids flickered not once, but twice. Then it happened. A full undeniable response. When Olivia whispered, "Emily, squeeze my hand if you can hear me." Emily's fingers closed around hers. Weak but intentional. Olivia collapsed into tears, clutching her sister's hand as if it were the lifeline she had been begging the universe for. "Oh, Emily, you're here. I knew you were here." Dr. Hayes exhaled shakily. "We need neurology in here now, and I want second and third EEG confirmations." His voice cracked with awe. "This is a recovery pattern. I've never seen it this fast." The nurse rushed to page the neurology team. But something was happening outside the room, too. Down the hallway, a security guard stepped closer to a monitor displaying live camera feeds. One of the feeds showed Emily's room, where staff were beginning to gather. The guard frowned. "Isn't that the patient who was?" The other guard nodded slowly. "Yeah, looks like something's happening." Moments later, a small group of hospital staff stood outside the door. No gossip, no chaos, just stunned silence. They watched the miracle unfold through the window with reverence, disbelief, and fear of the repercussions. Because there would be repercussions. Someone would have to tell Lucas Reed that the wife he left for dead, the wife he abandoned for a gala and a mistress, the wife he signed away, was alive. And as Dr. Hayes prepared the paperwork documenting every second of neurological return, he whispered to Olivia, "When he finds out, he'll try to control the story. But we'll have the truth on our side." Olivia nodded, eyes burning with fury and love. Let him try, because the world wasn't ready for what was coming next. And neither was Lucas. For the moment he learned Emily was alive again, everything he built would begin to crumble. The news did not break like a whisper, it detonated. By the time the neurology team arrived to confirm the readings, the corridor outside Emily's room had transformed. Nurses stood frozen, doctors exchanged stunned looks, and even the hospital administrators hovered nearby, unsure how to react. Everyone sensed they were standing inside, a moment bigger than medicine, bigger than protocol, bigger than any one person. Inside the room, Dr. Hayes moved with sharp focus. He checked Emily's pupils again, spoke her name slowly, watched the faint but undeniable flutter of her eyelids. She wasn't awake, but she was responding. She was fighting her way back. "Let's prepare to repeat the full assessment," he said. "Document everything, no gaps." Olivia stood beside him, her hand still locked around her sister's. She had cried so much her voice was nearly gone, but she refused to leave the bedside for even a second. Every time Emily moved even a tremor, Olivia whispered encouragements, letting tears fall onto the sheets. But before they could begin the full assessment, the air shifted. A heavy silence fell across the hallway. Lucas Reed had returned. He appeared with the same polished confidence he wore at board meetings. Flawless suit, phone in hand, composure sharp as a blade. Vanessa was not with him this time, but the scent of her perfume clung faintly to his jacket. Security footage had already alerted him that something was happening on the floor, something he didn't expect, something he didn't want. He walked toward the cluster of staff gathered outside the door and froze when he saw the monitors through the window alive with activity that should have been impossible. "What is this?" he demanded. No one answered. He stepped inside. The second he crossed the threshold, Olivia's body went rigid. She turned, eyes burning. "Get out." Lucas ignored her, gaze locked on the EEG, the rising green waves confirming a truth he did not want to face. "This can't be right," he muttered. "You said she was—" Dr. Hayes stepped forward, tone calm but underscored with steel. "She was showing no reflexes when we assessed her. But she's returning. Her brain is regaining function." "That's not possible," Lucas snapped. "You told me she was gone." "I told you what the tests showed at the time," Hayes replied evenly. "But something changed. She's responding." Lucas's jaw tightened. His eyes darted toward the stack of papers, those papers sitting at the edge of the counter. The withdrawal order, his signature. He swallowed hard. "So, what does this mean?" "It means," Dr. Hayes said slowly, "that stopping life support now would be medically unjustifiable." Olivia stepped between them. "It means you were wrong. It means you were ready to let her die." A flicker of something annoyance, not guilt, crossed Lucas's face. "We made decisions based on the information we had. I was trying to do the humane thing." Olivia's voice cracked with rage. "Humane? You didn't even stay. You left before her body was cold." The blow landed. Lucas looked at Emily, really looked for the first time since the surgery. He saw the faint movements, the tremors in her fingers, the eyelid flutter, the small sparks of life he had been told would never return. And instead of relief, his expression hardened. "This can't get out," he whispered. Dr. Hayes's eyes narrowed. "Excuse me, nobody can know she was declared brain dead, or that I signed anything. The media will destroy us. My board, my investors." Olivia cut him off with a trembling laugh. "You're worried about your image, your money?" Lucas didn't deny it. He simply looked at the door, calculating, panicked, cornered. Dr. Hayes stepped closer. "Mr. Reed, we have full documentation of her neurological return. Video, EEG printouts, staff witnesses. It's not going away, and I will not falsify records for you." Lucas's face turned pale. Hayes continued, "Your wife survived something catastrophic. Instead of worrying about the media, you should worry about explaining why you wanted to end life support so quickly." Lucas opened his mouth, but no sound came out. Because he knew the truth would not just crack his empire, it would shatter it. Olivia whispered into the heavy silence. "She came back, Lucas. Without you. In spite of you." Emily's fingertips twitched again, as if responding to her sister's voice. Everyone in the room froze. Dr. Hayes leaned closer, awe and triumph in his voice. "There, another response." Olivia burst into tears. Lucas took a single step back, as if the living proof of her return burned him where he stood. And for the first time since the night began, he understood. He was no longer in control, and the miracle he tried to bury would soon become the story that destroyed him. The morning after Emily's first signs of neurological return began with a quiet tension that spread through the hospital like a current. Nurses whispered in corners. Doctors exchanged glances heavy with disbelief. Every staff member who walked past her door slowed down, drawn by the impossible truth growing inside that room. Emily was still unconscious, but her mind, some fragile, determined part of it, was climbing its way back from the darkness. Each tiny twitch, each faint response, seemed to spark the room with something sacred. Olivia didn't leave her side for a single second. Her fingers laced through Emily's, her heartbeat sinking to the rhythm of the monitor. She whispered memories from childhood, stories from college, names she had chosen for the twins, anything to call her sister home. Dr. Hayes arrived early, wearing the same clothes as the night before. He looked exhausted, but there was a brightness in his eyes that hadn't been there in days. He checked the updated EEG printouts, carefully comparing them to the previous records. The spikes in brain activity were clearer now. Not dramatic, but consistent, intentional, alive. "She's stabilizing," he said softly. Olivia let out a shaky breath. So she's really coming back? She is, he confirmed, bit by bit. This is no reflex. This is Emily. Before Olivia could reply, a soft knock sounded at the door. A young nurse peeked inside, her expression nervous. Dr. Hayes. The administration wants an update. Of course they did. The hospital board had been alerted, not because of the miracle, but because of who Emily was married to. A billionaire. A man with influence. A man who could make or break careers. Hayes sighed. Tell them I'll brief them soon. But the nurse hesitated. And Mr. Reed is back on the floor. Olivia tensed instantly. Why? For what? He doesn't care about her. He cares about his reputation, Hayes muttered. Through the window, they could already see him approaching, polished, composed, his expression carefully arranged. He walked with the confidence of someone used to bending the world to his will. He stepped inside without knocking. How is she? Lucas asked, his tone practiced. Improving, Hayes said bluntly. More neurological activity, more reflex. That's good news. But the words sounded forced, almost rehearsed. Olivia glared at him. She squeezed my hand. Lucas gave a tight smile. I'm glad she's doing better. But his eyes darted toward the camera set up in the corner, the footage still rolling. He frowned. Is that really necessary? Yes. Hayes replied. This documentation is critical. For medical reasons? Lucas asked. For legal and ethical reasons, Hayes corrected. We need proof of every stage of her recovery. Lucas's jaw clenched at the word legal. He stepped closer to Emily, staring down at her as if she were a ticking bomb instead of his wife. When will she wake up? We can't predict that yet, Hayes said. But she's moving in the right direction. Lucas nodded, but something in his expression hardened a silent calculation. After he stepped out, Olivia leaned close to Hayes. He's scared. He should be, Hayes replied. For the rest of the morning, they continued testing. Emily's responses grew stronger. When Olivia said her name, Emily's eyelids fluttered noticeably. When Hayes touched her shoulder, her heart rate shifted. When a cold compress was applied, her fingers curled slightly. Every small reaction felt monumental. A second neurologist arrived, then a third. They repeated reflex tests, reviewed the footage, examined the EEGs. One murmured, "This is extraordinary." Another whispered, "We're witnessing something historic." By afternoon, word had reached beyond the hospital. A medical blog posted a cryptic message about a miraculous neurological case in Manhattan. A nurse slipped onto a private forum, posting, "She was declared brain dead." Then she came back, 5 minutes after the husband left. The post spread faster than anyone expected. Olivia saw it trending before anyone else. Her phone buzzed non-stop. She glanced at Hayes. "People are talking." He nodded solemnly. "They will. And soon, they'll know who she is." Olivia turned back to Emily, tears gathering again. "Hear that, Em? They're telling your story." Emily's fingers twitched stronger than before. Olivia gasped. That was her. That was her. Hayes smiled, a rare, full smile. She's fighting hard, but he also knew something else. The world was about to explode with the truth. And when it did, nothing, not Lucas, not his power, not his lies, would be able to contain what Emily's return would expose. Because the woman he tried to bury was rising, and the world was already watching. Lucas Reed had always been in control of his company, his image, his narrative. But the morning Emily's story slipped into the corners of the internet, something shifted. A crack formed in the polished wall he had spent years building. He felt it the moment he stepped out of the elevator onto the hospital floor. The way nurses paused mid-step, the way doctors exchanged subtle glances, the way whispers died when he passed. He hated it. Emily was supposed to be gone. The crisis was supposed to be over. Clean, controlled. A tragedy he could spin into sympathy if needed. But now she was fighting her way back, and people were talking. He strode toward her room with long, irritated steps, his phone vibrating non-stop in his hand. Vanessa had texted repeatedly, "You need to contain this. If the board finds out, It's over. Where are the records? Can they be sealed? He didn't answer. Not yet. Inside the room, Olivia and Dr. Hayes stood side by side, watching Emily's monitors with quiet intensity. Emily's eyelids fluttered again, longer this time. Her fingers twitched. Her jaw shifted slightly. She was unconscious, but unmistakably alive. Lucas stepped through the doorway. "We need to talk." Olivia immediately positioned herself between him and the bed. "No. You said enough." Hayes didn't move. "Mr. Reed, unless this is medical, I need you to step back." Lucas exhaled sharply. "I'm her husband." "Then act like it," Olivia snapped. Hayes cleared his throat, redirecting. "We're seeing steadily increasing brain activity. She's not waking up yet, but she's fighting." Lucas forced a smile, but Hayes caught the flicker of fear behind it. "That's encouraging." Encouraging, but inconvenient. Suddenly, a nervous resident rushed in. "Dr. Hayes' administration wants you. They're in the conference room. It's urgent." Hayes nodded, then looked at Olivia. "Stay with her. Don't let anyone touch her settings." When he left, Lucas closed the door behind him. The temperature in the room changed. Olivia stiffened. "What do you want?" Lucas stepped closer, lowering his voice. "We need to manage the narrative." "The what?" Olivia sputtered. "My sister nearly died. She was declared dead because you couldn't be bothered to stay." "That's not fair," he replied coldly. "I made a decision based on medical advice. You made a decision to get rid of her." Olivia shot back. "Don't pretend it was mercy." Lucas's jaw clenched. "You have no idea what pressure I'm under. This situation could damage everything." Olivia shook her head, disbelief twisting her features. "Everything? You mean your empire?" Lucas didn't deny it. He stepped closer to Emily's bed. "If she wakes up?" "When?" Olivia corrected sharply. His jaw tightened. "Fine. When she wakes up, she won't remember anything clearly. Trauma erases memory. We can use that." Olivia recoiled as if struck. "Use her?" She barely survived. Lucas lowered his voice to a near whisper. "I'm trying to protect all of us." "No," Olivia said, shaking, voice trembling with fury. "You're trying to protect yourself." Before Lucas could respond, the door swung open. Dr. Hayes stood there, eyes sharp. "Mr. Reed," he said, "we need to speak privately." Lucas straightened, smoothing his tie. "Good. I need answers." But Hayes didn't take him to an office. He stepped into the hall and closed the door behind them, voice turning ice cold. "I'm going to be direct," Hayes said. "We have full documentation of Emily's neurological return. We have video, EEG logs, timestamps, and third-party witnesses." "So?" Lucas replied. "So," Hayes continued, "if you attempt to influence this case in any unethical way, I will report you to the hospital board, the medical ethics committee, and the state." Lucas blinked in disbelief. "Are you threatening me?" "I'm protecting my patient," Hayes replied calmly. For the first time in a long time, Lucas Reed looked rattled. Hayes didn't stop. "I reviewed her decline again. The speed wasn't normal. The sudden crash, the inconsistency in her vitals. I'm pulling specialists to evaluate whether external stress, emotional or otherwise, played a role." Lucas's expression darkened. "Are you implying I caused this?" "I'm implying nothing," Hayes said. "But I am investigating everything." Lucas stepped back, stunned. Hayes finished. "You wanted control. Now you have scrutiny." The doctor turned and re-entered the room, leaving Lucas standing alone in the corridor, chest tight with a panic he couldn't hide anymore. Inside, Emily's fingers twitched again, stronger, clearer. Hayes smiled softly. "She's coming back," and Olivia whispered, voice trembling with hope. "She's coming back, and he can't stop her." For the first time, the balance of power shifted, and Emily, silent but rising, was at the center of it. The world returned to Emily slowly, like a dim light flickering through layers of fog. She felt sound before she understood it, warmth before she could place it, and fear before she could name it. Her body was heavy, unresponsive, as though it belonged to someone else. But somewhere deep inside, A small voice kept pulling her upward. Wake up. Come back. Your babies need you. Her eyelids fluttered. Olivia gasped. Emily. Can you hear me? Emily tried to force her eyes open. The effort felt like lifting concrete, but the fog thinned, just enough for a thin sliver of light to slip in. She recognized Olivia's voice, not fully, not clearly, but enough to feel safe. A faint groan escaped her lips. Dr. Hayes, she made a sound, Olivia cried out, her voice cracking. Footsteps rushed in. Hayes appeared on her left, leaning close. Emily, it's Dr. Hayes. You're safe. You're in the hospital. If you can hear me, try to squeeze my hand. She tried. At first, nothing happened. Then slowly, painfully, her fingers curled around his. Hayes exhaled sharply. That's it. Good. You're doing wonderfully. Emily sank back into the fog, exhausted, but she was no longer drifting. She was anchored now to voices, to touch, to life. But as she surfaced again minutes later, she sensed another presence. Cold, sharp, wrong. She didn't know why, but her chest tightened. Lucas stood near the door, his arms rigid, his expression carefully neutral. But the moment her eyes flickered open halfway, he stepped forward. Emily, he said softly, smoothing his expression into something gentle. It's me. Her heart thudded painfully. Something inside her recoiled. His voice echoed in her memory, not clear words, just tones. Sharp, detached, final. A memory flashed in fragments. Papers, cold voices. Someone saying no chance. Someone else saying, pull support. Her breathing grew shallow. Hey, Hayes soothed, adjusting her oxygen. You're okay. Don't push yourself. Emily tried to speak. The sound was a strained whisper. Babies. Olivia burst into relieved tears. They're okay. They're perfect. You'll meet them soon, I promise. Emily's eyes softened, but the relief was brief. She shifted her gaze toward Lucas. For a moment, they simply stared at each other, her confusion trembling in the air, his mask cracking under the weight of what she couldn't yet remember. He stepped closer. A flicker of panic rushed through her. No, she whispered. Lucas froze. What did you say? Emily struggled, her voice raspy. You left. Olivia straightened, protective fire rising in her eyes. Don't push her, Lucas. He ignored her. Emily, your memory is distorted right now. You've been through trauma. You can't trust the fragments. Her pulse spiked. Hayes saw it immediately. That's enough, Hayes said, stepping between them. You're agitating her. But Lucas stepped to the side, determined. She needs to hear the truth. Emily winced, confusion giving way to fear. Voices swirled around her. Machines beeped faster. The fog inside her mind churned violently. Suddenly, a sharp image cut through the haze. Lucas' voice. Cold. No need to prolong this. Sign the form. Emily jerked slightly, her breath catching. Olivia reached for her. What is it? Emily's lips trembled. He signed something. Lucas pallid. Hayes's head snapped toward him. Mr. Reed, step out, now. Lucas opened his mouth to argue, but the look in Hayes's eyes stopped him cold. He stepped back toward the door, jaw clenched. Hayes leaned over Emily. You're remembering things. That's good, but don't force it. You're safe now. Emily's gaze drifted to Olivia. He let me go. Olivia's tears returned, this time stronger. I know, Em, I know. But you're here. You came back. Emily's eyes filled, one tear slipping down her cheek. Then another memory surfaced, her babies crying in the distance, her own breath fading, the world going dark. She shuddered violently. Hayes placed a steady hand on her shoulder. Slow breaths. You're okay, Emily whispered, barely audible. I almost died. Olivia nodded gently. But you didn't. You fought. Emily swallowed weakly. Why? Wasn't he here? The question hung in the air like a blade. Outside the room, Lucas stood frozen, listening through the cracked door, his face drained of color. Because he knew the answer, and he knew the truth was waking up with her. And once she remembered everything, his entire life would go up in flames. Emily's memories didn't return all at once. They came back in shards. Sharp, piercing, disjointed fragments that crashed into her consciousness without warning. A sound, a phrase, a scent, a cold signature on a cold form. Her mind strained to put the pieces together, but every time she tried, exhaustion dragged her backwards. Yet one memory kept resurfacing. A voice, his voice. No need to prolong this. She's gone. Sign it. Each time the memory flickered, Emily's fingers curled slightly, as if gripping the edge of a cliff. Olivia sat beside her, brushing a hand through her sister's hair. You don't have to remember everything now, okay? Just breathe. Your babies are healthy. You're safe. But Emily shook her head weakly. Something wrong. Yes, Olivia whispered, eyes filling again. But you're not alone. He checked Emily's pupils, her reactions, her breathing effort. Your cognitive responses look promising. As your strength returns, more memories may surface. Just let them come naturally. Emily nodded, then flinched. Across the room, the door creaked. Lucas stepped inside. He wore a perfectly tailored charcoal suit, but something about him looked off, strained, brittle, as if one wrong word could shatter whatever composure he had left. His eyes darted between the monitors and Emily's face, searching for an angle, a weakness, a way back into the narrative he had lost control of. "Emily," he said gently. "How are you feeling?" She stared at him, trying to piece together the man before her, with the fractured memories inside her head. Her throat tightened. "You weren't there." Lucas forced a sympathetic smile. "Sweetheart, you're confused. You had a traumatic surgery. You nearly... No." Her whisper sliced clean through the room. "You left." Olivia stepped closer, ready to shield her. "Emily, you don't owe him anything. You don't have to listen." Lucas ignored her. He walked slowly to the side of the bed, lowering his voice to a tone meant only for Emily. "Listen to me. You need to think clearly. Don't let anyone put ideas in your head." Emily's breathing hitched. "I heard. You heard me." Lucas froze, but only for a second. Then he laughed softly, manufactured concern dripping from every syllable. That's impossible. You were unconscious. You're mixing things up." But Emily's eyes didn't leave his. Her mind was fogged, but her instincts were sharp. Something in her recoiled each time he spoke, a deep, primal warning she couldn't articulate. She lifted a trembling hand, touching her own chest. "You," signed. Lucas's mask cracked only for a heartbeat, but Olivia saw it. Hayes saw it. And Emily, though weak, felt it. He recovered quickly. "Emily, you don't understand the medical situation. They said you were brain dead." I was devastated. Olivia barked out a bitter laugh. "Devastated? You were at a gala with Vanessa while she was dying." Emily blinked. "Vanessa?" Lucas shot Olivia a murderous glare. "That's irrelevant. Emily needs stability." Hayes stepped forward. "Mr. Reed, that's enough. She's remembering associations. Let her process." Lucas ignored him and leaned closer to Emily, lowering his voice until it slithered like a threat. "You're the mother of my children. Don't let anyone twist this." Emily flinched, her pulse spiked. Hayes moved instantly. "Step back. Now." Lucas straightened, jaw clenching, but Olivia was shaking rage, radiating off her like heat. "You think you can rewrite everything? You think she won't remember that you left, that you signed to let her die, that you were with Vanessa all night? You think you can bury this like every other scandal?" Lucas snapped, voice sharp. "Watch yourself, Olivia." "No," she said, stepping closer. "You watch her. Look at her. Look at what she survived, with no help from you." Emily watched them, her heart pounding. The fog in her mind churned, and then suddenly a memory hit her full force. The sound of a pen scratching paper. Her sister screaming, "Lucas, stop." The cold words, End support. It's time. Emily gasped, a small choked sound, tears spilling down her temples. Olivia rushed to her. Em? Em? Breathe. It's okay. You're safe. Emily squeezed her hand weakly, then looked at Lucas with a mixture of terror and recognition. You left me. Lucas's face drained of color. Hayes's expression hardened. Mr. Reed, leave the room. I'm not leaving my... You left her once, Hayes cut sharply, and you will leave now. Security, already alerted by a nurse watching through the window, appeared at the door. Lucas stepped back, glaring at Hayes, then at Olivia, then at Emily. But her eyes, though full of pain, no longer looked confused. They looked awake. They looked aware. They looked like someone who would never let him rewrite the truth again. And as Lucas backed out into the hallway, fury simmering beneath his perfect facade, one thing became clear. Emily's memory was returning piece by piece, and soon, the whole world would know exactly what he did. Lucas Reed had always relied on two things to maintain power, money, and narrative control. But now, both were slipping from his hands like water through clenched fists. Emily was alive. Emily was remembering. And the hospital staff, once intimidated by his presence, now eyed him with quiet suspicion. Rumors traveled fast in sterile hallways. By mid-afternoon, Lucas was pacing the private family lounge, phone pressed to his ear. I need you to clean this up, he hissed. Vanessa's voice crackled through the line. Lucas, slow down. What exactly is happening? She's waking up, he snapped. She's talking. She remembers pieces. Pieces? Vanessa repeated, suddenly nervous. What kind of pieces? Lucas pinched the bridge of his nose. Enough that this could ruin everything if she fully recalls the timeline. There was a long, weighted silence. Then Vanessa whispered. I know, he barked. He hung up before she finished. He couldn't afford fragility, not now, not with his entire empire teetering on Emily's returning memory. Meanwhile, inside Emily's room, Olivia sat beside her sister, whispering comfort while Dr. Hayes prepared for the next cognitive assessment. Emily's eyes opened more frequently now, each time holding a little more clarity. Her voice was still weak, but the confusion that clouded her earlier was beginning to lift. Olivia said softly, you don't have to remember everything today, but whatever comes back, we'll face it together. Emily nodded faintly. I remember cold. So cold. And him leaving. Hayes paused from adjusting the monitor. Do you remember circumstances? What he said. What you heard. Emily shook her head slowly. Not all. Just, he didn't stay. That's enough for now, Hayes said gently. Don't force the memories. But Emily wasn't finished. Did he sign something? Olivia exchanged a quick look with Hayes, a look filled with anger, sorrow, and confirmation. Yes, Olivia whispered. He signed consent to withdraw support. Emily inhaled sharply, a tear sliding down her cheek. He gave up. Not everyone did, Hayes said firmly. Some of us stayed. Some of us fought for you. Emily's eyes softened. Thank you. A knock broke the moment. The head of hospital administration entered, hands clasped, expression tight. We need a moment with you, Dr. Hayes. Hayes followed him to the hallway, jaw tightening. He already knew what this was about. The administrator lowered his voice. Mr. Reed is raising concerns. He says you're spreading misinformation about the care he consented to. Hayes laughed once, humorless. Misinformation? I have timestamps, EEGs, staff witnesses. I know, the administrator cut in. But he's implying you acted outside protocol by delaying withdrawal after he signed. Hayes's eyes darkened. I delayed because she showed neurological activity, documented activity. Lucas is claiming you misread the early signs. Hayes stepped closer, voice cold. He's setting up a legal shield, but I'm not afraid of him. You should be cautious, the administrator warned. He has influence. If he claims negligence, Hayes interrupted, voice like steel. If he wants a fight, he'll get one. I protected my patient. And I'll protect her again. Inside the room, Olivia watched Hayes return, not defeated, but more determined than she had ever seen him. What did they say? She asked. That Lucas is trying to rewrite the timeline, Hayes said. But we won't let him. Emily turned her head, eyes fluttering open again. He's scared. Olivia squeezed her hand. He should be. Suddenly, the door burst open. Lucas strode in, fake concern plastered on his face. We need to talk, all of us. Hayes stepped in front of the bed. Say what you need to say. Lucas inhaled sharply. Emily, sweetheart, you're confused. Trauma does that. I never abandoned you. I never signed anything to hurt you. Emily looked at him, really looked, and something in her eyes shifted from confusion to quiet certainty. You weren't there, she whispered. I remember enough. Lucas pallid. Olivia's voice cut through the tension. She's done listening to your lies. Lucas's mask cracked completely. If she keeps telling these stories, it could destroy my reputation. My board, Hayes snapped. Your reputation is irrelevant. Her life isn't. Lucas's eyes flickered with panic and something darker. But then, a voice from behind him. Mr. Reed? They all turned. It was hospital security. We need you to step out. There have been concerns about your behavior. Lucas stiffened. Whose concerns? The guard glanced at Hayes, then Olivia. Then finally, at Emily. Her medical teams, the guard said. Lucas's face went cold. He backed toward the door, eyes locked on Emily, no warmth, no remorse, only fear of the truth she carried. And Emily watched him go with a strength building in her chest, a truth rising inside her battered memory. She was no longer afraid of Lucas Reed. Hannah Miller arrived at the hospital the next morning with a determined stride that cut through the sterile hallway like a blade. She wore a charcoal coat dusted with frost, her hair pulled into a clean knot, and a leather briefcase slung over her shoulder. She looked every bit the calm, calculated lawyer she'd fought to become, and today, she wasn't here for a client. She was here for Emily. Olivia nearly collapsed with relief when she saw her. Hannah, thank God you're here. Hannah pulled her into a tight hug. Liv told me everything. I came as fast as I could. Then she pulled back, her eyes sharp. Where is he? Hopefully being escorted off the floor, Olivia muttered. Hannah smirked. Good. Let's keep it that way. They stepped into Emily's room together. Emily lay propped up slightly now, looking pale but undeniably alive. Her eyes flickered open at the sound of voices, and when she saw Hannah, something like recognition softened her expression. Em? Hannah said gently. It's me, from school. Emily blinked slowly. Hannah. The lawyer. Hannah's smile widened. That's right. You're doing great, Emily. Dr. Hayes entered a moment later, reviewing Emily's latest responses. Her coherence is improving. Memories coming back piece by piece. Hannah turned to him. Dr. Hayes, I'm assuming everything is being documented. Every second, he said. Video, EEG, nurse statements, my logs. Good, she said, because Lucas Reed is already hinting at rewriting this narrative, and I intend to bury that attempt before it starts. Hayes couldn't help but smile. I like you already. Emily shifted slightly, wincing at the soreness in her body. Hannah. Did he really try to? Hannah stepped closer. Emily, what Lucas did wasn't just cruel. It may have been illegal. Consent to withdraw support requires thorough review, transparency, and time. He rushed everything. And from what Olivia told me, he had other motives. Emily's lips trembled. Vanessa. Hannah nodded. Yes, and if he tries to gaslight you now, he's picking a fight he can't win. Olivia placed a gentle hand on Emily's shoulder. We're building a team around you. You're not alone. Emily closed her eyes briefly, overwhelmed, but this time it wasn't fear. It was the unfamiliar weight of being defended. Suddenly, a knock sounded at the door. A nurse peeked inside nervously. Dr. Hayes, Mr. Reed is demanding access again. Hannah rolled her eyes. Of course he is. Hayes's jaw tightened. Send him away. Patient is resting. But Emily surprised them all. Her voice, though weak, was firm. No. Everyone froze. Emily opened her eyes. I want him to hear me. Hayes hesitated, but finally nodded to the nurse. 2 minutes. And security stays right outside. Moments later, Lucas stepped into the room, his expression tight, controlled, and shaken beneath the surface. He wasn't used to being told no. He wasn't used to security blocking his path. And he definitely wasn't used to facing consequences. He glanced sharply at Hannah. Who are you? Her lawyer, Hannah said simply. Lucas blinked. She doesn't need a lawyer. Hannah's smile was icy. She very much does. Emily's eyes met his, no longer clouded by confusion, but sharpened by clarity. You left me, she whispered. Lucas's jaw flexed. Emily, that's not fair. You left, she repeated, stronger this time. You signed. You walked away. Lucas swallowed hard. I was told you were gone. I was devastated. You weren't devastated, Emily whispered. You were with Vanessa. His face drained of color. Olivia crossed her arms. Tell her she's wrong. Go ahead. Lucas couldn't. Emily breathed shakily. You didn't wait. You didn't hold my hand. You didn't fight. Emily. Lucas stepped forward, voice strained. You don't understand. I was overwhelmed. I made a mistake. Hannah cut in sharply. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. This was abandonment. Lucas glared. This is a family matter. Not anymore, Hannah said, voice cool as ice. You made it legal the moment you signed to end her life. Emily's eyes shimmered with pain, but beneath it, something new was forming. Strength. She whispered. I heard you. In the dark. I heard your voice. You didn't want to wait. Lucas froze. Hayes stepped forward. That's enough. She's done. Lucas looked at Emily one last time, panic flickering across his face, as he realized something he never expected. She remembered enough to destroy him. The guard signaled. Lucas was escorted out again, frustration radiating off him like heat. When he disappeared down the hall, Emily let out a trembling exhale. Hannah leaned close, voice softening. He can't hurt you anymore. Not legally, not medically, not publicly. You survived. That gives us everything. Emily's eyes filled not with fear this time, but relief. Olivia hugged her gently. This is the beginning, Em. Not the end. And Dr. Hayes stood beside them, a quiet promise in his eyes. You're safe now, and we're not going anywhere. Emily had nearly died alone. But she would heal surrounded by truth, by allies, and by the strength Lucas never believed she had. Morning sunlight spilled through the hospital blinds, turning the room a soft gold, beautiful, gentle, completely at odds with the storm now brewing far beyond its walls. By the time Emily drifted into a light sleep, the internet had already begun stitching together fragments of the truth. A nurse in pediatrics had posted anonymously on a medical forum. A woman declared brain dead, showed brain activity minutes after the husband signed off to withdraw support. No names, no details, just enough to ignite wildfire. A tech blogger picked it up, then a healthcare watchdog page, then a local journalist. Unconfirmed reports of a near-fatal misdiagnosis at Manhattan General. By noon, it was everywhere. Hashtags formed. Conspiracy theories spawned. The world wanted to know who was the woman, who was the husband. Inside the hospital room, Olivia sat cross-legged in a chair, phone buzzing in her lap. She didn't want to show Emily anything yet, but Hannah needed to see all of it. Hannah, Olivia whispered, handing over the phone. Look. Hannah scanned the posts, the headlines, the comment threads. Her jaw tightened. This is moving faster than I expected. Dr. Hayes entered just then, washing his hands at the sink. The entire staff is whispering, he said. But they're not the problem. It's the outside attention that worries me. Olivia frowned. Should we make a statement? No, Hannah said quickly. Not until Emily is stronger, and not until we control the narrative. But the narrative, for the first time in Lucas Reed's life, was not his to control. Downstairs in a private administrative conference room, Lucas slammed his hand onto the table. This is a disaster. Someone leaked this. Hospital executives sat stiffly, avoiding eye contact. "Mr. Reed," the chief administrator said carefully, "the hospital has made no public statements. The leak didn't come from us." Lucas scoffed. "So what? You expect me to believe this just magically appeared online?" A compliance officer cleared her throat. "It appears the information originated from staff discussion on an anonymous medical forum." "Then find them. Shut it down." "We can't," she replied flatly. "Anonymous means anonymous, and even if we could, the story is multiplying. Hundreds of accounts have reposted it. It's beyond containment." Lucas's eyes narrowed. "This will destroy me." The administrator finally spoke, voice stern. "With respect, sir, this isn't about you. It's about your wife's recovery." Lucas stood abruptly. "Everything is about me." The room stared in horrified silence. Upstairs, in Emily's quiet room, her eyelids fluttered again. Olivia leaned forward eagerly. "Hey, Em, you awake?" Emily blinked slowly. "Light. Hurts." Hayes dimmed the room immediately. "That better?" She nodded faintly. Hannah stepped closer, gentle but serious. "Emily, something is happening outside this hospital. People are already talking about what happened to you." Emily's brow creased. "Talking? About me?" "Yes," Olivia whispered. "And we're going to protect you. But the truth is getting out." Emily swallowed, throat dry. "What truth?" Hayes exchanged a look with Hannah. Hannah took Emily's hand. "The truth that you survived something unimaginable. The truth that you were declared dead too quickly. And the truth that Lucas signed to withdraw life support when he shouldn't have." A soft tremor ran through Emily's body, not from weakness, but recognition. "I remember," she whispered. A voice. Cold. Not waiting. "Yes," Olivia said, eyes wet. "People need to hear your story, but only when you're ready." Emily's breathing steadied. A quiet resolve formed across her fragile features. "I want the truth. All of it." Hayes gave a proud nod. "Then we'll give it to you, piece by piece." But down the hall, a nurse burst from the elevator, breathless. "Dr. Hayes, Hannah, Olivia, look." She held out her phone. A major news outlet had just posted. "Unidentified billionaire linked to brain-dead pregnant wife case. Husband signed withdrawal 5 minutes before miracle." The comments exploded. "Name him. Expose him. Protect the woman. Find the twins' mother." Olivia's heart pounded. "This is it. This is happening." Hannah nodded slowly, eyes sharp as a blade. "Then we move forward." Hayes took a breath, steadying himself. "Emily needs to hear this from us, not the world." Emily, now more awake, lifted her gaze toward them. "What happened?" she asked. Hannah stepped forward, voice calm but fierce. "Emily, the world is starting to learn what he did." Emily's lips parted slowly. Then a spark, small, fragile, but growing, lit behind her eyes. For the first time, she realized the truth wasn't just returning. It was rising, and the world would rise with it. The gala hall shimmered beneath chandeliers the size of small cars, every crystal catching the light like frozen stars. Wealthy donors filled the room. Executives, politicians, media personalities, all dressed in gowns and tuxedos that whispered money with every movement. Cameramen hovered near the stage, ready to broadcast Lucas Reed's polished speech about healthcare innovation. He had chosen this night for a reason. He thought he could reclaim the narrative. He thought he could bury the truth beneath applause. He was wrong. Backstage, Lucas stood in a tailored midnight blue suit, adjusting his cufflinks with shaky hands. Vanessa hovered beside him, touching up his tie like she had rehearsed it 1,000 times. "You look calm," she whispered. "I'm not," he admitted. "Everything's blowing up. The internet's connecting dots. They're talking about a billionaire husband. If they figure out it's me." "They won't," Vanessa said quickly. "Not if you own the story first." She handed him a stack of note cards. "Focus on the donation. Talk about supporting mothers. Emotion plays well on camera." Lucas didn't miss the irony. He was about to stand on stage praising mothers while the mother of his children lay in a hospital bed, remembering he tried to let her die. "Stick to the script," Vanessa pressed. "We cannot afford another scandal." Another, as if what he did to Emily was simply a PR inconvenience. Inside the ballroom, applause erupted as the host announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the visionary of Reed Tech Industries, Lucas Reed." The spotlight hit him like a punch. He stepped onto the stage, shoulders straightened, expression crafted into somber sincerity. "My friends," he began, voice smooth, "tonight we gather to support the lives of mothers and children." The doors at the back of the gala burst open. A ripple moved across the room. Heads turned, cameras pivoted. Lucas paused mid-sentence, because walking through the main aisle slowly, supported by Olivia and Dr. Hayes, was Emily, alive, breathing, standing, and the room gasped as one. She wore a simple hospital gown beneath a long beige coat, her hair tied loosely, an IV still taped to her arm. She looked fragile but unbroken, stronger than Lucas had ever imagined she could be. Vice presidents, investors, board members all stared at the wife they thought was gone. Lucas's throat closed. "Emily?" His microphone carried the stunned whisper across the entire ballroom. Emily kept walking, each step shaky but unstoppable. Olivia supported her weight. Dr. Hayes guarded her like a shield. Behind them were two security officers and Hannah, heels clicking sharp and certain across the marble floor. The room erupted with murmurs. "That's her. The wife from the story. She's alive? Why would Lucas hide that?" Emily reached the front of the stage. Olivia helped her up the steps. Hayes steadied her from behind. Lucas stumbled backward as she approached him, unable to hide the terror twisting his face. Emily turned to the microphone. Her voice trembled at first, then steadied, drawing strength from every betrayal she survived. "My name is Emily Carter Reed," she said, "and I am the woman your news feeds have been whispering about." The room went silent. $1,000 wines paused mid-air. Forks stopped halfway to plates. Emily continued, breath hitching only slightly. "I was declared brain dead. And minutes later, my husband." She turned, looked directly at Lucas, signed to withdraw life support. A stunned gasp rippled across the room. Cameras zoomed. Phones lifted. The world recorded every word. Lucas stepped forward, panicked. "Emily, stop, please. You're confused." Hannah snapped. "Touch her, and I'll have security drag you off the stage." Emily's gaze stayed on him. Tears welled raw, human, undeniable. "But I wasn't gone. I heard things. I felt things. I fought. And someone believed in me enough to give me time." She reached for Hayes's hand. The audience burst into applause, loud, emotional, overwhelming. Lucas's face burned. Emily wasn't done. "While I lay there, helpless, my husband was with another woman, and he chose her over giving me a chance to live." Vanessa, standing near the curtains, went white as marble. "This," Emily said, voice thick with strength, "is not a tragedy about a dying woman. This is a warning. About power, about deception, about what happens when you trust the wrong person with your life." Cameras turned to Lucas, sweating, shaking, cornered. Emily whispered into the microphone, each word a blade. "You left me for dead, Lucas, but I came back." The ballroom exploded. Gasps, anger, sympathy, outrage. Lucas stumbled off the stage, chased by flashing cameras and shouted questions. His empire cracked in real time. And behind him, under the bright lights, Emily stood tall, shaking, exhausted, but triumphant, as the entire world rose to its feet to applaud the woman he tried to erase. Emily didn't remember much of the car ride back to the hospital after confronting Lucas on stage. She only remembered the applause, wild, rising, unstoppable, as if strangers across the world had used their voices to return what she had almost lost: dignity, strength, life. Back in her hospital room, she lay propped up on pillows, exhausted but awake, her fingers curled gently around a warm cup of broth Olivia held for her. Dr. Hayes checked her vitals with quiet pride. Hannah stood near the window, phone vibrating non-stop from media requests. "You were incredible tonight," Olivia whispered. Emily shook her head lightly. I nearly fainted. Still incredible. Hayes smiled. Your recovery accelerated because you had something to fight for. The truth. Emily exhaled shakily. I didn't expect to say all of that. But when I saw him, the words just came. They needed to, Hannah said. And now the world is demanding answers. On her phone screen, headlines multiplied by the second. Billionaire exposed for attempted life support withdrawal. Emily Carter Reed's miracle survival sparks investigation. Who is Vanessa Moore? Public outrage erupts. Reed tech stocks plunge. Emily swallowed. Stocks? Hayes nodded. There's fallout. But that's his burden now, not yours. But it was more than fallout. It was unraveling. Across the city, Lucas Reed's penthouse was surrounded by camera crews. Reporters shouted questions as he tried to push through the lobby. Did you sign the withdrawal? Why wasn't your family told you left the hospital? Is it true you were at a gala while she was dying? Where is Vanessa Moore? Security shoved microphones aside, but nothing could protect Lucas from the truth pouring out everywhere. Inside the elevator, his phone buzzed violently. Board members, investors, attorneys, his own PR chief. He didn't answer any of them. When the elevator doors opened into his penthouse, the lights were off except for the glow of the city bleeding through the glass walls. And standing in the middle of the room was Vanessa, eyes wide, pacing, hands trembling. This is bad, Lucas, she whispered. The board suspended your authority. HR is questioning me. Reporters already found out about us. Lucas sank onto the sofa, face pale. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. She wasn't supposed to wake up. Vanessa stared at him, horrified. Do you hear yourself? He didn't answer. Back in the hospital, Emily felt a strange peace settling over her, a clarity she hadn't felt in years. She looked at Olivia and Hayes, her anchors. What now? She asked softly. Hannah stepped forward, setting aside her phone. Now we prepare. There will be legal hearings, media interviews, public apologies. But you control the story. Emily nodded slowly. I want my children safe. I don't want him near them. And he won't be, Hannah said firmly. You have grounds for supervised visitation or even full restriction. No judge would ignore what he did. Emily's lip trembled. I trusted him with everything. Olivia touched her hand. Not anymore. You're free now. The word free felt foreign but warm. Emily leaned back, letting her body rest. Outside her room, nurses whispered in admiration. Visitors left flowers at the front desk. Messages poured in from mothers, survivors, strangers. People saw her not as a victim, but as a fighter. Hayes adjusted her blanket gently. You know, not many come back from what you survived. But the way you stood up there tonight, that wasn't survival. That was rebirth. Emily smiled faintly. I didn't feel brave. But you were, he said. A soft knock sounded. A young volunteer peeked inside. Mrs. Reed? Sorry. Miss Carter. There's someone here to see you. A woman. She says she knew you in college. Olivia raised a brow. Another friend, but the volunteer hesitated. She also said she has information about Lucas Reed. The room went still. Emily's pulse quickened. Information? Yes, the volunteer said. She said she should have come forward sooner. Emily shared a look with Hannah, who immediately straightened, lawyer instincts firing. Bring her in. The volunteer nodded and slipped out. Hayes moved closer to Emily. You okay? Emily nodded. I want to know everything. Olivia squeezed her hand. We're here. And as footsteps approached from the hallway, Emily felt something rising inside her, a quiet, powerful certainty. The truth was still unfolding, and she was strong enough now to face every part of it. The woman who stepped into the room looked nothing like the polished Manhattan elite Lucas kept around him. She wore a simple navy coat, her hair pulled back in a no-nonsense ponytail, her eyes warm but troubled. She hesitated at the doorway until Hannah gestured her forward. It's okay, Hannah said. You're safe here. The woman exhaled shakily. My name is Tara Nolan. I went to college with Lucas, and I worked for him during his first startup years. She glanced at Emily with genuine remorse. I should have come sooner. I'm sorry. Emily offered a weak but welcoming smile. Please, tell us whatever you know. Tara stepped closer, wringing her hands. I saw what happened online, and when I heard you were alive, I knew I couldn't stay quiet anymore. Hayes pulled a chair forward for her. Start from the beginning. Tara sat, gathering courage. Lucas. He wasn't always like this. But ambition changed him fast. When we were building the company, he started treating people like pieces on a board, disposable. She looked down. I covered for him more than once. Affairs, lies, shady investor deals. I kept quiet because I needed the job. But one night, she swallowed hard. One night, he said something that terrified me. He told me, if he ever had a scandal, he'd remove the weakest link before it could talk. Back then, I thought it was ego, arrogance. Now, her voice cracked. Now I think he meant it. Emily felt a rush of cold creep up her spine. Weakest link, like a wife he didn't love anymore. Tara nodded miserably. Like anyone who threatened his perfect image. Hannah leaned forward. Do you have proof? Tara opened her purse with trembling fingers. I kept everything. Old emails, voice memos, financial records, and... She held up a USB drive, a recording, of him and Vanessa, talking about moving on after the babies arrive. They mentioned you. Emily closed her eyes, pain flickering across her face. Olivia grabbed her hand instantly. Breathe, you're okay. Tara's voice softened. I didn't know it would go this far, but when the story broke, I realized he didn't just move on. He tried to erase you. Hayes clenched his jaw. This is more than a medical case now. This is criminal. Hannah stood tall, fire in her eyes. With this evidence, we can file for full custody, emergency protective orders, corporate fraud investigation, and a civil suit for attempted medical homicide. She looked at Emily. You'll win, all of it. Emily's eyes filled, but not with fear, with release, with the quiet, overwhelming relief of someone realizing she was no longer the helpless one. What happens next? She whispered. Hannah smiled gently. Next, we take everything he tried to steal from you, your voice, your safety, your future, and we give it back. Just then, the volunteer appeared again. Miss Carter, your babies are awake. The NICU nurse said they're ready to see you. Emily inhaled sharply, emotion swelling in her chest. My babies, yes. I want to see them. Hayes nodded. Let's go slow. I'll bring a wheelchair. Within minutes, they were wheeling her down the hall, Olivia on one side, Hannah and Tara behind. Nurses smiled as she passed, some with tears, some with awe. When they entered the NICU, 2 tiny bassinets waited softly under warm lights. Emily reached out with trembling hands. The nurse placed the first baby in her arms, a girl with a tiny, determined cry. Emily gasped a sob. Hey, sweetheart, Mommy's here. Then the second, a boy, quiet but strong, was placed on her chest. He opened his eyes, blinking up at her, and for the first time since waking, Emily felt whole, safe, free, reborn. Olivia whispered. They waited for you, Em. They held on because you did. Emily kissed their foreheads. We're going to be okay. All 3 of us. Behind her, Hannah spoke softly but firmly. Emily, this is your new beginning. Lucas can't touch you now. Emily nodded, tears falling gently onto her newborns. She wasn't the woman who almost died anymore. She was the woman who came back to life and took her entire future with her. And this time, no one would ever silence her again. And just like that, our story comes to a close. But my dear friends, you're still here with me, right? If you're truly here at this moment, listening until the very end, then something in Emily's journey must have touched your heart in a quiet, personal way. Maybe it's the reminder that even when life feels impossible, there is a strength inside you waiting to rise. The Stoics said, the obstacle is the way. And Emily proved exactly that. What tried to break her became the very thing that made her stronger. Marcus Aurelius wrote, You have power over your mind, not outside events. In the darkest moments, she held on to her spirit. And maybe that's what you needed to hear today too. This story teaches us that healing is real, truth matters, and no one, no matter how powerful, can silence a heart that refuses to give up. You deserve safety, you deserve love, and you deserve a life where your voice is heard. If this journey moved you, even just a little, please like this video, share it with someone who might need courage today, and subscribe so you don't miss the next story we experience together. Thank you for staying until the end. It means more than you know,